Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and this is how to use Ultra Necrozma. Took a little bit of time for me to understand how this legendary beast works, and honestly, it was a lot of fun. That there was some deep technique to the Ultra Necrozma. There's a lot of stuff that is going on that you have to balance, that you have to worry about, and it ends up to be a pretty decent Pokemon. Even though it has some of the highest base stats and most ridiculousness we have ever seen, it's kind of balanced for a couple of reasons, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So first off, let's get into the complexities of Necrozma's moveset. So as we can see right here, there's a lot of different breakdowns, but pretty much to be able to use Ultra Necrozma in battle, it needs to be equipped with the Z Crystal, and it also has to be on one of these Solgaleo or Lunala forms, so that's pretty much where your balance is going to come in. And that means that there's a lot of things to break down before the Ultra Burst even happens. As we can see, we have all kinds of stats on the different Necrozma forms, different breakdowns for the moves and the Pokemon that actually get access to them, the form changes, and all kinds of fun stuff like that. And then move tutors, adding on to Necrozma's existing moveset, and then having to deal with Photon Geyser. There is a lot. So now, here it is. Let's go and figure out what we're doing. Now, the best thing about the Ultra Necrozma is that it's just going to be a hard, standard sweeper. And I feel like the balance on this Pokemon was ridiculously meticulous because we have a 129 on the speed. So 130 is like the cap for pristine sweeping. Now, we see this with Tapus. We see this with some Mega Pokemon like the Mega Manectric and the Mega Lopunny. And also just like even the slowest possible Pheromosa with an offensive nature is still going to break that 130 base speed. So Necrozma is able to crush all of that. And also, when you think about legendary Pokemon, very few legendary Pokemon start to get up to this high of a speed tier as well. So Necrozma is just going to be like the sweeper boss of all of them. And then the stats are also pretty cool because we actually have a downgrade of tankiness compared to some of the other forms. As we can see right here on the Dusk Mane, 97, 127, 109. And it's going to be the same for the Dawn Wing. So we're actually getting slightly less tanky for a massive buff to the speed and then the potential to just be very unpredictable. I don't necessarily recommend running the Ultra Necrozma as a mixed Pokemon, but as you can see, it could either be special attack or attack, and it's even impossible to predict that way because what you could do is you can just throw out the Ultra Necrozma with the Solgaleo form, and then people might think, oh, it's going to be a physical attacker. But if you just plan on going straight into the Ultra Burst, you might as well run it special, and then the opponent isn't going to have an idea. So it's not like you can see the Dusk Mane and be like, oh, that's going to be the ultra physical attacking variant. You just can't predict what's going to do because the moveset can go wherever it wants to on the Necrozma. It does mean that you're not dealing with like a Sunsteel Strike potentially, but until Necrozma has used all 4 moves against you, you don't know what's doing. So it has a lot of surprise factor behind it, and that's going to be one of the more devastating things about it. However, it is not Mega Rayquaza levels of strong because you need the Z Crystal. You can't not run the Z Crystal. So it's not like we have all of these ridiculous stats and then a Life Orb. But at the end of the day, it's a Z move. And technically, you don't have to use it, so you could still have a Z move on your team that you can utilize. Just need the Z Crystal to kind of act as a Mega Stone to get the form change to happen. And Light That Burns the Sky is incredibly powerful. Now we're talking about a 200 base power move that has some of the most absurd effects that we have ever seen in Pokemon. So let's go scroll down right here. Light That Burns the Sky inflicts attack or special attack damage, whatever stat is higher for the user, ignores the target's ability. So if they have a sturdy Pokemon, doesn't matter. You just get to go clean through it with the Light That Burns the Sky. And again, 200 base power on a 167 attacking Pokemon. You're going to be able to score a KO like that pretty easily. And then being 97s in your hit points and defenses means it's going to be hard to one-hit KO you back. So at least Necrozma has a lot of that going for it. And then the moveset is also going to be something that's really dynamic. You can either run it as a special attacker, which means Photon Geyser works on both movesets. Like, that's a really cool thing about the Photon Geyser. So it already ignores abilities. It has a 100 base power, so effectively by doing the Light That Burns the Sky, just doubling the effectiveness, and then whatever your higher stat is, it's going to factor that way. However, it always deals special attacking damage because it is a special attack. But that means, like, okay, Photon Geyser, you get the staple, powerful move, and that just gives this Pokemon a lot of pivoting potential as a physical or special attacker. Now, on the special side of things, you have pretty solid amounts of coverage. Heat Wave is a move tutor, so we get our fire. just like that. We can even get Earth Power. Ground is just powerful in general, and we get access to that on top of all of our other moves, and then you can have a 4th tech. Now, there's a lot of moves that can go in this place, just another offensive move, that what you could do is run the Flash Cannon on a special attacker. That way you still have the steel coverage, whereas you wouldn't have it because you're not running the physical for the Sunsteel Strike, which is something we're also going to talk about, because there's so much carryover. There's so much freedom and so many options on Necrozma. It is just mind-blowing. And then you can run the Calm Mind. So if you're in a position where you get the chance set up, you know, a special attacker, while you outspeed them, you Calm Mind, they do less damage, and now your +1 is going to absolutely shatter everything. Also, the ability, Neuroforce, just gives you 20% more damage on super effective hits. So pretty much, this is your stab clean-out move. You just use this to wreck everything, and then you try to get as much coverage as possible, because that super effective hit is doubling damage on a 167 special attacking or physical attacking Pokemon, and then getting an extra 20% boost. So it's pretty much, you either sweep with this, or you clean up with this, or you just Calm Mind into Photon Geyser sweeping as well. It's kind of ridiculous what the Necrozma has up its sleeve. Now again, you could either take this out for more coverage to get that Neuroforce, or you just kind of stack the Calm Mind when you have the opportunity to, and that's going to be something about the special attacking. Why I'm not running Dragon Pulse? You can, but I think the Calm Mind gives you a little bit more freedom. Again, if you're going up against Special Attacker, no reason not use the Calm Mind if you get that outspeed anyways, because that's just going to make you bulkier and then give you more damage to sweep in the long run. And again, we're looking at like this, like Photon Geyser, that's our main primary stab. Everything else we're looking for is just going to be super effective hits, which the Dragon isn't really going to give us many of. As for the other ways of running it, remember, we are transitioning from a form into the Pokemon, so we can keep that. If we want to run a physical Sunsteel Strike Proton Geyser on the Ultra Necrozma, we can. So now we have a 100 base power Steel-type move that ignores abilities going into the Photon Geyser, which is a Psychic. Now, we are going to drop that stab when we become Dragon, but I mean, it's just a high base power Steel-type move that is going to work with us. If we are running the Necrozma on Special, that means we can also opt in for the Ghost-type move by running the Moongeist Beam, but again, I don't think it's necessary because we get enough coverage with these 3 moves right here. And then the physical side on Necrozma is still good because Necrozma gets Earthquake. It gets the knockoff. So, I mean, you don't even need the Sunsteel Strike. You can have it if you want to. You can go for some kind of other setup move right there, and then we're still looking at ridiculous levels of coverage. Now let's go on over to the type coverage checker. So again, like if we drop the Dragon, let's go Psychic, Fire, Ground. What's that going to give us? Perfect coverage. So 0 not very effective hits, 446 normal effective, and then 462 super effective hits. We are hitting a majority of the Pokemon in the game super effective by just running Fire, Ground, and Psychic. So I mean, that's why we don't really need much else, so why not run the Calm Mind is the big question right there. Now, if we're going to be doing this the other way around, no Ground, Psychic, Steel, that's going to be pretty good right there. And then that means we're only resisted by the Skarmory and the Celesteela if we are running this moveset without the knockoff. Or again, we can just kind of play around with it. Alright, well, if we're not running the Solgaleo shenanigans, you know, this is still going to open us up to Yveltal, Honchkrow, Cacturne, Shiftry, Mandibuzz. So it's really just Dark Flying and Dark Grass shenanigans that we have to worry about. And again, we have another moveset that we can apply somewhere else. Still solid amounts of super effective and neutral hits. And pretty much wherever we just connect with on that Psychic is going to be powerful. So that's why we're going to go into some other options that we have on the Necrozma as well. So I was thinking, like, we have Outrage. Now, on the physical set, I think Outrage works because that's already very high amounts of base power. We go Outrage and just slaughter everything because 167 on the attack. Like, that's pretty much what you just, like, that's Necrozma. You can say anything you want about this Necrozma and then just add because, and the rest of the strategy is going to follow it. Because if you know how to play Pokemon, you know exactly where that's going. So you run the Outrage because everything's going to die anyways. So huge amounts of damage right there. And then going into the Moonlight, this is an option that you can run on all of the movesets. You know, it's like, alright, what if we don't have Sunsteel Strike? It's either Outrage or the Moonlight. Now, I don't say Moonlight as like the mandatory must-have or like the best idea ever, but it is good. Sometimes you can find yourself in some stalling situations, and it's good to have that healing above it. Now, the thing is, we're also fighting legendary Pokemon. That when you're dealing with legendaries, things get really out of hand really quickly, because now you're dealing with Pokemon that are also very high amounts of damage, very threatening, that could two-shot you. So the Moonlight might not buy you the most time, but if in a stall situation, it's good to have. So if there's a lot of stall running around with the free battle spot or whatever legendary format you're in, you might want to tech that in just to be safe. Same for the Calm Mind. Now, as always, there's a couple of other options on both the physical side, and if you want to run Hidden Power on the special side, Hidden Power works just fine because you're getting the Neuro Force boost as well on top of a super effective hit. And now it's time to get into some of those damage calculations. So again, legendary Pokemon, that means we're dealing with that Life Orb Mega Rayquaza that we're not allowed to be because we have the Z Crystal, and that is 180 on the attack, but we do have less speed, which means all you need for the Necrozma, straight outspeed into the Z move. Actually, Shattered Psyche is less damage, so let's do the 200 base power, get rid of the Z move. So the Light That Burns the Sky is just a guarantee KO, even if there's like weird amounts of hit point invested tech on the Mega Rayquaza, we are still looking at insane amounts of damage, so we get the outspeed into KO, and that's good to go right there. If the Rayquaza does find an outspeed against us, though, kind of gets scary because Dragon Ascent is just going to be a raw KO, which is also why I'm against the Moonlight, because 97s, that's strong, that's tanky. Dealing with legendary Pokemon, less so, especially when worrying about like choice items, Life Orb, and then just the absolute shenanigans that can kind of manifest in a format like this. But overall, just kind of showing you guys that neutral damage is sick, and then whatever else you bring into it is going to be pretty powerful as well. Next up, we can take a look at the Dialga, kind of giving us a use case and a good comparison for the split damage that we're looking at with our Necrozma. That even though we're getting higher base power on the Earthquake, a lot of Pokemon are going to be more defensive invested, or might just have a naturally higher defensive stat like the Dialga, so Earth Power is actually finding more damage, and then just a 2-hit KO, super effective hit against a full hit point tank invested Pokemon. And there is one downside to having the Dragon typing, and that just means that a tanky Pokemon into the Draco Meteor is going to be bad news. That we have Dialga, just kind of tanks up whatever you're doing, high hit point invested, Draco Meteor, dead. We see the same with the Giratina, we see the same, just you go into that and it's going to be bad. So while it does sound cool, you know, looking at the official art, that the Dreamworld art for the Necrozma, it looks like an awesome light dragon, and it works for the theme, and I guess Game Freak just wants to be cool, you know, what do kids like? Kids like dragons. What's really awesome? Dragons. Let's make a fierce dragon, yay! But at the end of the day, it does give you a lot of susceptibility to ice, dragon type moves, and that is going to be some balance right there. So you still have to be aware of very powerful stab, super effective hits, even when you're running the 97s across the board like this. And with the speed and offenses you're already facing, you know, these are some kind of slim margins against Pokemon like the Rayquaza or anything like that. So if you want to secure these one-hit KOs on the neutral, then that means you just kind of have to accept it. You know, you can't go for like weird amounts of hit point investment to try to survive. It just doesn't work that way unless you go for that hit point investment, have the Calm Mind, but then you can't run the Moonlight because now you're only running 2 moveset options. So Ultra Necrozma, while it is very powerful, has a lot of snowballing and just gaining potential on it, it does have vulnerabilities that can be exploited. And also, this matchup kind of showing you guys the power of the Calm Mind as well, that for some reason the Neuroforce just doesn't work on the Pokemon Showdown damage calculator. So yeah, if we go from Neuroforce to other, it doesn't change. It should be 20% more damage. So that means if we get 20% on this and then just add a +1, that means we're going to be able to KO the Dialga just by kind of adding that little bit of extra damage. So I mean, if you already have Calm Mind, then few things get to stand up to you, and that's pretty nice. So weaknesses and strengths on Necrozma. So it is very balanced for what it is, and I was just kind of looking at some other fun things. Golisopod comes in, just boom, first impression onto the Necrozma, and that is almost going to be enough to KO. Actually, 62% chance, so it can KO in a lot of situations on Life Orb. Even without it, that means you're going to be hurt. If there's a Stealth Rocks up, that's something. So yeah, kind of finding some interesting amounts of balance, but overall we can just kind of go and bring in the Photon Geyser. That against a more average Pokemon, even then Golisopod has like higher on the hit point special defense, I mean, you're still looking at high amounts of damage. So if you get that one Calm Mind in there, pretty much everything but legendaries is going to be one shot by the Photon Geyser, and then anything else you hit super effective is going to die as well. So that's pretty much the breakdown on Necrozma. Very fancy Pokemon. I love the tech. I love the idea behind it, because that Photon Geyser gives you that pivot. And it's like, is it physical? Is it not? So if you can catch the opponent out at the right time, show your moves, and then get those KOs, it can still be very powerful, while also not being this unstoppable, snowballing destruction machine of just absolutely unstoppable filth. I don't really know how to say it, but that's kind of what it isn't, at least. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.